We like to believe that success belongs to the good, that those who work hard, treat others well, and live with integrity will eventually be rewarded. It is a comforting belief. It gives us a sense that the world is fair, that effort, kindness, and morality will ultimately lead to success. But as we grow older and begin observing the world more carefully, a difficult question sometimes begins to appear. Why do some of the wealthiest people seem to lack empathy, compassion, or integrity? Why do individuals who behave selfishly, aggressively, or even ruthlessly often rise to positions of power and wealth? And why do so many kind, thoughtful, hard-working people struggle financially despite their efforts? These questions can feel uncomfortable because they challenge one of our deepest assumptions about life, the belief that the world rewards goodness. But the truth is more complicated. Wealth and morality do not always move in the same direction, and understanding why can reveal something important about how success actually works. To explore this idea, we must first understand something about human psychology, because wealth, in many cases, is not simply the result of intelligence or effort. It is often shaped by personality traits, traits that can sometimes conflict with empathy and morality. One of the most important traits connected to wealth is risk tolerance. Many successful entrepreneurs, investors, and business leaders share a common characteristic. They are willing to take risks that most people avoid. Starting a company, investing large amounts of money, leaving stable careers, making bold decisions with uncertain outcomes. These choices require a certain mindset, a willingness to act even when the future is unclear. But risk-taking often comes with another trait, a lower fear of failure, and sometimes a lower sensitivity to the consequences their decisions may have on others. This does not mean that every wealthy person lacks empathy, but it does mean that some of the psychological traits rewarded by competitive systems are not always the same traits we associate with kindness. Another factor that influences wealth is competitiveness. Modern economic systems are highly competitive environments. Businesses compete for customers. Investors compete for opportunities. Individuals compete for promotions, influence, and financial advantage. In these environments, people who are extremely agreeable or conflict avoidant can sometimes struggle, because success often requires negotiation, confrontation, and the willingness to prioritize personal goals. Some individuals are naturally more comfortable with this. They are assertive, strategic, and sometimes ruthless in pursuing their objectives. Psychologists have even identified personality traits that appear frequently among powerful leaders and wealthy individuals. Traits such as high confidence, strong ambition, and a willingness to dominate competitive situations. In extreme cases, these traits can overlap with characteristics associated with narcissism or manipulative behavior. Again, this does not mean that all successful people are unethical, but it does highlight something important. Certain systems reward boldness and aggression more than humility or kindness, and this can create the impression that immoral behavior leads to wealth. In reality, it is often the traits behind that behavior that create advantages in competitive environments. There is another factor that is rarely discussed when we talk about wealth: comfort with money itself. Many kind and thoughtful people grow up with complicated beliefs about money. They may associate wealth with greed. They may feel guilty for wanting financial success, or they may believe that pursuing money too strongly is morally questionable. These beliefs can create internal resistance, a quiet hesitation that prevents them from fully pursuing opportunities that could improve their financial situation. Meanwhile, individuals who see money simply as a tool or a game may pursue it without hesitation. They negotiate more aggressively. They ask for higher compensation. They pursue business opportunities with relentless focus. Over time, these small differences in mindset can lead to dramatically different outcomes. Another reason wealth and morality sometimes feel disconnected is because success in modern systems is not always determined by fairness. Economic systems reward value creation, efficiency, and influence. But they do not always reward kindness. A company that cuts costs aggressively may increase profits. An investor who takes advantage of market opportunities may generate enormous wealth. A negotiator who pushes relentlessly may secure better financial outcomes. In each of these situations, the system rewards the result, not necessarily the morality behind it. This can create a painful perception that goodness is invisible and that ruthlessness is rewarded. But the truth is slightly more complex. Kindness and morality do have value, but their rewards often appear in different forms. Trust, strong relationships, loyal communities, long-term reputation. These forms of value grow more slowly than financial gains, but they are powerful in ways that numbers alone cannot measure. History offers many examples of individuals who accumulated immense wealth but lived deeply unhappy lives, because wealth alone does not guarantee meaning, connection, or fulfillment. At the same time, it is also important to challenge another dangerous belief: the idea that being a good person requires rejecting wealth entirely. Money itself is not immoral. It is simply a resource, a tool that amplifies the intentions of the person who holds it. In the hands of someone selfish, it can create harm. But in the hands of someone thoughtful and responsible, it can create opportunity, security, and positive change. Perhaps the deeper lesson is this: the world does not always reward morality in obvious ways, but that does not mean morality has no value. It simply means that wealth and virtue operate on different timelines. Financial success often rewards speed, risk, and assertiveness. Character develops slowly through patience, empathy, and reflection. And while these paths sometimes intersect, they do not always move together. Understanding this can help us avoid two common mistakes. The first mistake is believing that wealth automatically reflects moral superiority. Financial success does not necessarily mean someone is wiser, kinder, or more virtuous. The second mistake is believing that pursuing wealth requires abandoning your values, because it is entirely possible to seek success while remaining ethical, thoughtful, and responsible. But doing so requires awareness. It requires recognizing that competitive systems may sometimes encourage behaviors that conflict with our values, and choosing consciously how we want to navigate those systems. In the end, the relationship between morality and wealth is not simple. The world is not perfectly fair, and success does not always follow the path we expect. But this realization can also be freeing, because it reminds us that the true measure of a life is not only how much wealth we accumulate, but the kind of person we become while pursuing it. And perhaps the real challenge is not simply learning how to build wealth, but learning how to build it without losing the qualities that make life meaningful in the first place.